So last night, I was finishing up this book. It's called All My Friends Are Going to Be Strangers, and it's by, I want to say Larry McMurthy is the author's name. I forget if that's exactly it, but something along those lines. And I was finishing up the book, and this one line in specific really stuck out to me. It's when the main character is coming towards the end of the book, and he's in this river, and he's complaining to this old man about all his struggles. You know, he's lonely. All his friends are strangers at this point, as the title implies would happen through this book. And the man says, you know, don't worry about women, don't worry about people, don't worry about all that stuff, as long as you keep your dignity. And the main character says in response to this, he says, I'm paraphrasing here, something along the lines of, fuck my dignity, I'll be who I am without it. This line really stuck out to me. So I wanted to discuss, right away I got up and I wrote it down and I was like, let's talk about that in Paint&Talk tomorrow, because it got me thinking about something that I haven't thought about in a long time, that I used to really be perplexed by, and that is this concept of dignity. I don't remember the context. I more remember, you know, when you have like a feeling of a memory, you know something happened, but you can't really remember it. I remember the first time I heard about dignity, I just was confused, because I heard, you know, maybe one of my parents or an uncle or something said the word dignity, and I said, you know, what does that mean? What's dignity? And they explained it to me, and I don't know if they explained it in a strange way, or if I just really didn't get it, but I remember I had this feeling of confusion around it, and I still do. I still, you know, around the concepts of respect, dignity, pride, all these things, they still strike me as, you know, confusing at best and a little strange at worst. I'd love to see who first came up with dignity. Like, who was the first guy to coin that term of like, I need my dignity intact? Because it just doesn't make much sense to me. Before this, just to, you know, try and get my brain moving a little bit, I searched up the definition of dignity, just because I was like, let's see, what does Google say when you search up dignity? I remember being extremely confused by this definition as a kid, but hey, you know, my parents in the early 2000s weren't Google. You know, maybe Google will have a more legitimate definition for me. And once again, paraphrasing here, I don't have it in front of me, it basically said something along the lines of like, the state or concept of one's personal worth being worthy of respect and honor. And that really stuck out to me because, well, to be frank, it really showed me that this concept's even weirder. You know, the idea that we all as humans have a value, I think is right. I agree with that. I just totally agree with that. I also would extend this to say that, like, I think that everything living has a value. I believe in, like, the whole Camus thing of existential equality. Like, I think that all life is equally meaningful and meaningless all at once. Like, I do believe that, right? I think that makes sense. But to say, like, this intrinsic value that we have, whether meaningful, meaningless, however you look at it, is worthy of honor, worthy of respect, to me strikes me as like a little strange, especially that word honor. You know, dignity always seemed not narcissistic, but a little bit self-centered, if you will, just a tiny bit, because it's like, why would I, and I think this is where my confusion came from as a kid, even if I couldn't really articulate it back then, back in the good old days when I was 5, because of just like, why do I think I deserve a certain level of respect over everyone else, you know? To me, that seems like conceit. And I do understand that this isn't saying you deserve respect over other people, but it's saying you just that everyone deserves honor, respect, and all that. And I just don't understand that. I don't think that, you know, I've never been a huge fan of that idea. Of this idea of like, we all have a certain respect that you need to give. You know, that was something that I always struggled with in school too as a kid. Was like, you need to have respect for everything, you need to have respect for everyone, and it just all seemed so, you know, arbitrary, which I use that word a lot. I feel like I overuse it almost, or maybe it's just because I'm hearing myself talk every day. But like I have memories of when I was a kid, and say the teacher would tell me to do something, and I'd be like, oh, why? Like not even trying to be wise about it, just trying to genuinely be like, oh, why am I doing this? What's going on here? And the only answer I'd ever get is like, show some respect. You have to have respect. Why would you ever, it was seen as like, respect oftentimes seemed to me as a way for people to go, don't you dare question this authority that's being exerted over you right now. And obviously, I think I'm coming off a little edgy about it. I was a 6, 7 to 10-year-old kid when I was thinking about this stuff back then, and the truth is I should have just done my homework. Obviously, I can say that now looking back as someone who has gone through all that and not 5 anymore. But it still was like always interesting how not so much this concept of respect, because I believe that somewhat, like, plainly, not getting too philosophical about it, like, everyone has their own intrinsic value. Everyone's life is worth the whole lot. Everyone's human. Everyone's life is great, and you should just, the way I like put it colloquially is like, just don't be an asshole. Just like try and be a good guy, because I think when you get too far into the I don't want to say the minutia. When you get too far into like the minutia of respect, I feel like it so often turns into less of an idea about all humans deserve a level of respect and more of a way to dole out who deserves the most respect. And obviously I'm speaking about this on like a very functional basis right now. Like I'm saying like this is how I've seen it in my lifetime. And the concept of respect can be separated from how I've seen it in my lifetime, 100%. And I always want to make that distinction of like, respect as a concept, that we all baseline deserve this certain level of respect, totally, 100%, no issues, no qualms, yeah, like I agree with that. But where it starts to perplex me is more so like, who gets that respect, why they get that respect. And that's where I think as a kid, my whole thing with respect kind of started, because I was like, well, why am like all I'm being told is to respect people who are telling me what to do or are telling other people what to do. And it's like, I remember as a kid, something I always thought or would ask is like, oh, why do people listen to the police? Like what makes, like I didn't understand the fact that like I was like a police officer is just a guy like everyone else. Like why, like what about that guy is like the reason why everyone is like, oh, you should listen to this guy. Obviously I just was dumb. I understand that like, it's like a class in society of a policeman, a law enforcer. Like I, obviously now that makes complete and utter sense to me. But as a kid, I wouldn't get it. And the answer, and part of this is because I was just asking so many questions as a kid, I think, now that I'm repeating out loud, but the answer I'd constantly get is like, you have to have respect for them. That like, we respect their authority, we respect their power. And I think maybe a lot of where this came from is like so much of just like whenever I had a question or whenever I was like, why is this thing going on? Respect was the answer that was shoved in my face of like, you need to respect all these things, you need to respect everything. And it's like, are we able to run this world off respect? Like I was like, what if what if I don't, And then later in life, I remember this guy said to me once, because I was making a joke or something like, whatever. It wasn't, I don't think it was that big of a deal. And he said like, I don't even remember what the joke was at this point, to be honest. I mean, this was when I was like, this is going back to when I was like 15, 14. So I'm sure I was being a little asshole to him. But he was a little bit older than me. I want to say maybe I knew him through a cousin or something. I don't remember how. But I made this joke and I was like, oh, it's a joke. You know what I mean? I did the classic thing that you do when you're 16 where like, it's just a joke. Instead of just admitting, you could be a little nicer. And his response is what bothered me more than anything though, is he went, is it a joke or is it disrespect disguised as a joke so you can get away with it? And I was like, why are you inferring you're above jokes? Like, why are you, listen, if I'm not like someone who's like, oh, take a joke, you gotta take a joke about everything all the time. Like, I'm not at all. I don't think, a whole lot of jokes aren't funny. Completely, I agree. But like, like, it's not like, what if you're just making a lighthearted joke about someone of like, oh, you got a funny outfit on today, you know, something like that, like not even like just on some like friend stuff, you know, and somebody has that reaction of like, you're disrespecting me. It's like, you know, I think a lot of the time it's like, why, you know, you could say that to me and you laugh about it, you know what I mean? Why do you feel that you deserve this thing that no one's given you? And I mean this for everyone. I think the part of the reason why this guy got mad at me back then is because I was young. You know, like I was 15, I was being a little jerk, probably. I don't really remember what I said. I was probably being a little jerk at 15 to him. And he was probably feeling slighted. He was like, why is this kid talking like this? So he was like, this is disrespect, right? He used that term. That's whatever. I'm not talking about this scenario. I'm talking more so about like, I don't care if I was making that joke to the King of Spain, you know, like no one should be above a joke. No one should take themselves so seriously that they're referring to themselves in terms of like, I am being disrespected. I'm being slighted by this joke. And I think that's why this has always been so, you know, the minutia of respect has always been such a mind boggle to me. And that's why I think now I look at it so in terms of like, so plainly. Now I just look at it very much in terms of like, okay, don't be mean, don't be a dick, you know? Because the answer to me isn't like, this guy deserves this utmost respect. I cannot disrespect this guy. That's not the answer to me. That makes no sense. Of course I can, you know, and he could look at me and make the exact same joke back, and he should have, you know? In my opinion, if, you know, it's how I would have handled it personally. You know, you gotta joke back. You can't just be sitting there like that. But I know that, like, I also can look at that and be like, okay, maybe, you know, at 15, did I have to be joking around with the guy? You know, did there have to be a butt of the joke? Like, that's something I think about a lot. Not that I'm against there being a butt of the joke, but it doesn't always have to happen. You know, like now that I'm a little more mature, it's been years since then, I can look back and I can be like, yeah, no, like I understand why he wouldn't have liked that. But you know, there's two sides to the situation. On the one side, it's like, I personally am like making this joke, I'm being a little mean, and I can follow my own rule of like, don't be an asshole. But this other guy can follow it back and also be like, oh, I just got, you know, I've got to take the joke. I gotta handle this well, and we can both, there's a way for this interaction to end, and we're both feeling good about it in the end, you know? Neither of us took that road. And I think when you bring the minutia of respect into it, then it becomes muddy, because it's like, now the reason that I shouldn't have made the joke in his eyes is not because I am just being a little jerk about it, it's because he deserves this level of respect that I'm not giving him. And that means that he is inherently more just better than me. He deserves more respect. And you know, you could use the excuse of like, he's older, you should. I don't buy that personally. I mean, you know, don't go scaring old ladies in the grocery store. But also, like, if you're 15 talking to a 20-year-old, you know, 21-year-old, anywhere up to like 25, honestly, no, past 25, you know what I mean? If a kid were to walk up to me and make a joke like that right now, like, I would not take it like that. It's not that deep. It's never that deep, you know? Especially with stuff like that. So it's like, it's just so not important when you get down to it. And I think to apply like the ideas of respect to this, of like, we both have this intrinsic value and you're inherently disrespecting that right now with your joke, it makes it so much more of an ideal, and like, let's just both be a little bit cooler about this, you know? There's an easy and there's a hard way to do this, and the much harder route is the whole respect thing, especially because you want to use both these routes to get you to the same conclusion, you know, of just like, don't be a little jerk, you know, be a little nicer, both of you, you know? Let's say I'm moderating someone else's conversation at this point. And that's why I think it's so interesting. And dignity is almost an extension of that, you know, it's the feeling of oneself deserving that respect, or as the definition strangely states, honor. And that is why I think dignity is weird, because it is is adjective the word? I don't know if dignity is an adjective or I think it'd technically be a noun, no? But either way, dignity is the feeling that you are deserving of that, or the concept that you're deserving of that. So to separate respect, something that I think is just like a simple fact that everyone has their own intrinsic value, blah, 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 I've said it a million times here, right? To separate that into the feeling of oneself being deserving of respect is where it becomes a little bit more, you take it away from an equal intrinsic value, and at some point in that process of putting it onto yourself, of saying, I deserve this respect, you are either A, inferring that someone else has disrespected that equality, which then would make sense, right? To be like, my dignity is on the line right now. That I kind of get, but I feel like a lot of the times it's also being used, when nothing is happening and you're being told you have this level of dignity, as I was as a kid, that boggled my mind of like, wait, why do I get that? What did I do to be like, feeling that I deserve this thing, to have that is to, when there's no imbalance, when there's nothing going on, nothing's disrespecting this dignity, I just am sitting here feeling like I deserve this dignity. That to me seems a little bit, I don't want to say egotistical. Is self-centered the word? Is stuck up the word? Is... I don't want to quite use the bigger words, but there's something a little funny about that, right? And I think that's why, bringing this all the way back to the quote that is likely the title of this video, and definitely the quote that inspired it, it's so interesting to me because I think that quote summarized something that I have been thinking for a long time. When the main character, Danny Deck, I believe is his name. I know it's Danny. I don't remember his last name. I don't know about you guys. Sometimes I like read a book and it's just like in one ear out the other. You know what I mean? Like especially novels, not so much like philosophy, but I struggle with fiction. That happens a lot to me. Like it will fully be in one ear out the other with a lot of these with a lot of these novels. And I'll only remember quotes or moments, or like concepts. I don't know if that happens with you guys. Anyways, back to the main point here though. When he said, F my respect, I am who I am without it, or I'm still myself without it, or however he put it, I think it spoke to me because it put into words, which is something, going back to, I think I said this yesterday in Paint&Talk, that it's something that all great writing should do, is that it put an emotion into perspective that I'd been trying to word for years, something that I'd felt since I was a kid that I could never get out. And that's that we all deserve respect. We all have a level of, this value and all that. But when you say that you are not yourself without your dignity, without your intrinsic feeling that you deserve more, this huge respect, or that you have an honor that needs to be upheld, you aren't yourself if you lose that respect, especially for yourself, right? That's when things get muddy there. But you still are very much yourself if you lose your dignity. Dignity and respect they're not a package deal, And I think sometimes we act like they are, or people act like they are. And that's why I think as a kid it always annoyed me so much when the answer to all my questions was show some respect or something along those lines. Because that wasn't respect, that was dignity. That was being like, I deserve this over you. Respect me because I have a power over you right now. And I never liked that. I've never liked that at all, I still don't like that at all, Obviously now that I'm not 5 and asking annoying questions, I don't get told that anymore, thankfully. But it's a display of dignity when someone says that to me, in my opinion, or how I felt, I think, and still feel to an extent, looking back on these conversations with my teachers and with adults when I was younger, it felt like a shine of dignity coming through that had a little bit of ego coming along with it. And I think that's why this has always bothered me. And I think that's why this book, this quote, put into words so well what I've been feeling for years, I guess. I mean, not like explicitly feeling, like, in the back of my mind kind of feeling. When not like repressed, but like, something just stewing in the back of your head, that kind of thing. Anyways, this is the painting. It's completely done. You guys know the drill. Go check out the Instagram to see the finished painting from multiple angles with a little description of it and all that. I was a little bit behind on uploading the paintings. I put up 2 yesterday. There should have been 1 the day or no, I put up 2. Oh my god, I'm losing track of like everything now because I'm recording this 1 day in advance. 2 paintings were uploaded somewhere along these lines. But this has just been a little discussion about a quote I saw, which is something I think I may start doing here. I think quotes are good springboards because like, I think it's cool to title. I was in this club in high school, actually, just another little tangent. I was in this club in high school that had a quote on a board, and we'd go in and we discussed it. It was a philosophy club. It ran for a total of 2 meetings, and then it got shut down. I don't remember why. But they put a quote on the board, and we just sit there and discuss it, and I thought that was so fun. I thought that was so interesting. So sometimes I think I'm gonna come here and do that. Maybe a lot, because I read and I write down a lot of the quotes I read, and I'd love to come here and discuss them, And it's cool because like it'll be the title. You guys know the quote coming in, and it's just like, oh, this is what we're talking about today. And I think that's cool. That's a cool thing. So I'm gonna try that every now and again as I experiment with the paint and talk style here. We're really close to 40 episodes, which boggles my mind. It's really insane. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, this has been Paint and Talk episode 39. I'm here every morning at 9 a.m. New York time, painting and talking with you all.